Hello? How are you? I just wanted to say, this video took a long time to make, so if you happen to enjoy my yapping, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and doing all of that YouTube stuff.
Who are you?
That's a bit personal, isn't it? Now, let's begin. Welcome to Silent Hill 3. In Silent Hill 3, we play as a cool, angsty teenager.
Shut your stinking mouth, bitch!
Silent Hill 3 is considered to be the last truly good game in the franchise. I think that Silent Hill 4 is also good, but we'll get to that later. The third installment is also considered to be the scariest one. And, well, watch the video and decide for yourselves. It's actually a direct sequel to the first game. It was originally supposed to be a standalone title, just like the second game, but there were a change of plans. We'll get to that later. Her name is Heather, and she fell asleep in some kind of mall, which is weird. I could never fall asleep in such a public and crowded place. There's too many smelly humans there. She wakes up, goes home, and lives happily ever after. Okay, you know that's not what happened. I can't believe you fell for that. Come on. The game actually starts with a nightmare sequence. We see a carousel that forms a symbol that will soon become very familiar to us. For the first time, we see this cute pink bunny that isn't creepy at all. Maybe there's even someone inside. We'll see more of him later. Heather realizes that she has a knife, and if you experienced Silent Hill 1, you realize that this is a very familiar amusement park. The second we start to explore this place, we get attacked by weird and creepy monsters. You know why Silent Hill 2 is considered to be the best game in the franchise? It's not because of its deep and psychological story. It's because it's the only game from the original team where there are no dog enemies. These poppers are annoying in every game. So anyway, we keep exploring, avoid monsters, and then she dies. Well, that was fun. Let's move on to Silent Hill 4. Okay, no. It would be kind of bad if the game just ended here, so of course she survives. It was just a dream. This is very similar to the beginning of the first game, where Harry, the protagonist, also dies in the beginning, and then also wakes up in some diner. Also, this Blondie is Harry's daughter. At the end of Silent Hill 1, he got a baby from his daughter? Yeah, that baby, that's his new daughter. She's the reincarnation of his original adoptive daughter, Cheryl. And at the same time, she's the reincarnation of Alessa. Alessa is the poor child who gave Silent Hill its spooky powers, and who was supposed to give birth to a demonic god. Heather is the reincarnation of all of that, but she was a literal newborn baby at the time, so she doesn't know any of this. It's been 17 years since then. 17 years since the greatest dad ever took down a giant moth god monster and used geometry to progress forward. It also takes place several years after a depressed, horny amnesiac tried to find his dead wife, but was then abused by geometry. Thanks to Harry, she got to live a normal life, away from that cursed town of Silent Hill. Well, until she gets approached by this creepy guy with a fedora.
Heather, I need to speak with you.
Oh, wait. He's not wearing any pants. We don't wanna get age restricted right away. Let's fix that, shall we? There we go. Now it's less creepy.
My name is Douglas Cartland. I'm a detective.
A detective? Really? Well, nice talking to you.
He keeps following her and insisting that someone wants to meet her. He's a private detective, and apparently someone hired him to track Heather down. It has something to do with her birth? She basically tells him to buzz off and get out of town, but like a creep, he keeps following her.
Are you still following me? Do I have to scream?
Sorry. I'll wait here.
Like all creepy stories about underage girls, this one begins in the woman's bathroom. After evading the stalker, we go into the ladies' room where our attention is directed at this symbol. It's the symbol we signed the nightmare. It seems Heather knows about it, but she can't quite remember how. It also serves as our save point, though you can save anywhere you want from the pause menu. If that old geezer decides to come in here, we can defend ourselves because we still have that knife from the nightmare. I wish I could bring weapons from my own dreams into reality. I once dreamed about wielding a giant sword, but then I realized that I was the sword all along. Heather actually had this knife all along. According to the description, Heather always carries it with her, just in case. Well, I'm sure she won't need it. She also has a key to her house and a pendant she got from Harry, with a strange red jewel inside. It might come in handy later. For now, our objective is to just go home. That's the most relatable objective you could hope for. Because we don't want to deal with this old Redditor, our only option is to climb through this window. You'll notice an improvement in the graphics department. It looks better than the second game, which is to be expected, but this one also looks really good for its time, and even looks nice today. Even though it's still normal and nothing supernatural happened yet, it already looks kind of creepy. Look at this red sky. You will also notice that the performance, voice acting and dialogue isn't as weird and cringy like in the previous games. It's more realistic, I guess, but it doesn't mean that it's not weird. Oh boy is it weird. You'll see. This is the first time a Silent Hill game starts outside of Silent Hill. Usually the protagonist arrives at the spooky town and then spooky stuff starts to happen. But this time, the spooky stuff come to us. Heather walks into a clothing store, but instead of clothes, she finds a gun. Like any good American, she picks it up from the floor, and she did it just in time. You see? This is why I hate going to the mall. There's a giant fleshy monster, and it has a giant mouth, which might be its nose, which looks like a face? I don't know what's going on here. If you look closely, you'll see that it kinda resembles that weird monster from the second game. It's mostly a visual resemblance, but it also kinda has a symbolism similarity. We'll talk about it later.
Stay back! Get the hell away from me!
I don't think it understands you. Let's speak in a more universal language that anyone can understand. Bullets. She runs out of bullets, but the monster dies just in time. She handled that surprisingly well. I would have probably shot myself by accident. Oh, really, Heather? I actually thought it was a human. How did you come to that conclusion? By the way, this dead woman is actually Angela from the previous game. Well, it's not really her, but it's her character model. With nowhere else to go, we move deeper into the mall and find a map for this crazy place. You'll notice that Heather is more playful than any of the other protagonists. Even though she's literally a teenager, she somehow deals with this whole situation surprisingly well, and maybe better than the other main characters. Yeah, she gets scared and panics, but she also has time to crack jokes and be sarcastic. I like it. I probably would have acted the same way, but for me, it would be a coping mechanism to help prevent a mental breakdown. Heading deeper, we meet a new purple creature. If you look closely, they look like the stuff that comes out of you when you touch yourself at night, when you're alone in your bed, with no one to hold you. What were we talking about? Okay. Okay, Heather. I think it's dead. Stop. Yeah, you better run. Navigating the inventory is more convenient here. You have a separate section for key items, weapons, and health. It's not just one big pile of items. Additionally, the game is really good in showing and not telling. Instead of just giving you a wall of text as a tutorial, which explains some kind of mechanic, the game just naturally shows you what you can do. Like how it shows us that dogs can be distracted with beef jerky, by literally showing us a dog eating beef jerky and putting beef jerky next to it as an item that can be picked up, though I never used it. Why waste perfectly good food that I pick up in dirty and questionable places? There's a key down here, and we can get it, but not because it's impossible, but because Heather is too lazy to move some boxes. Okay, you spoiled princess, let's use some tweezers we picked up. That's exactly what I say whenever I need to clean my house. Examining the key gives us the name of some kind of shop, so that's where we go. This place is the home to this game's most infamous puzzle. Do you like Shakespeare? It's actually an easy puzzle, but on the hardest difficulty, you actually need to have prior knowledge about these books. A Shakespeare PhD. If you don't have it, well, you're fucked. You can always look at a walkthrough, but you're not doing that, right? You're not using walkthroughs, you're a true gamer, right? But on normal difficulty, you don't need to worry about it. You just need to arrange them correctly to reveal the password for the door. Did Silent Hill manifest these puzzles, or was it just a normal thing that the employees of this shop had to deal with? Did they need to solve a Shakespeare puzzle just to open this door? After being stuck in this Mall of Doom, we eventually come across a very peculiar woman. Remember when I talked about Silent Hill 2 and I told you to throw all of the cold stuff in the trash? Well, you can bring it back now, just don't touch it for too long. It stinks. Yeah, that very wholesome cult from the first game that wanted to murder everyone, it's back. Or rather, it never really went away. This lady represents that stupid cult. I guess she was just standing there waiting for us all of this time. She starts talking about paradise and rebirth and other bullshit that both Heather and I don't care about.
What are you talking about?
Don't you know? Your power is needed.
How should I know?
I am Claudia.
So what?
Heather's reaction is just perfect. It's so refreshing having a protagonist just talk back at the bad guys. Heather asks her if she made a monster appear, which is kind of a weird thing to ask. Claudia gives a vague answer and somehow causes Heather to have a mean headache. She then leaves and Heather goes back to normal. It seems like she knows Heather from somewhere and wants her to remember her true self.
Remember me, and your true self as well.
Whatever that means.
I don't get it. What does she want me to remember?
But we don't have time for religious shenanigans. We gotta get home to dear old daddy. He's worried about us. So we're gonna take this inconspicuous, normal elevator. And everything will be just fine. We can't get out until we pick up this
radio. What's going on with that radio?
A radio suddenly drops down, which isn't weird at all. We pick it up, the doors open, and now the game truly begins. There's a reason this game is considered to be the scariest one in the franchise.
Is this a dream? It's gotta be.
Yeah, kind of unsettling. We're suddenly and aggressively thrown into the other world. an even more nightmarish version of them all. The other world in this game shares a lot of similarities with the one seen in the first game, more than it does with the second. Everything is more metallic and rusty, but in every version we always see a fan, best recurring character. Now that we have the radio, we can tell if enemies are nearby, but we really don't need it here, because the monsters are so fucking loud, you're gonna hear them from a mile away. Soon after, we find a flashlight, so now we can see in the dark and there's a lesser chance we will poop our pants out of fear. If you're still scared, then the next part will help you. We make it to the nightmare version of the bathroom we were at in the beginning of the game, and we get the best cutscene in the game.
Forget it. This is way too gross.
If your name is James Sunderland, Heather has something to say to you.
Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
Yeah, she's looking right at you. She's breaking the 4th and 5th and 6th wall. This game is probably the funniest in the franchise. It has a lot of intentional goofy moments, but at the same time, it's also the spookiest. Silent Hill 3 does a really good job of unsettling you, not just with monsters and sound design, which are great, but also with how something in the environment can change in real time. Like how you can go back to the clothing store and see that there's nothing special there, literally nothing. But when you try to leave, you hear something falling. Or the part where you can knock on the door and someone knocks back. Which is already kind of spooky and weird. I mean, why would someone knock back while taking a shit? I would just yell at them to go away. But after you start to leave, you hear the door open behind you. Maybe, whatever is there, got up and started walking towards you. It's tense, but you're curious, so you turn around and what do you know? There was no one there. So either you were hallucinating that someone was knocking back, or someone was here and they left in a hurry after taking a massive dump while being on their period. I don't blame them for going away. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the one to clean this up. The other games occasionally had stuff like that jump scare in the first game, where you check a locker, realize that it's empty, you feel safe and then boom, a corpse suddenly falls out from another locker. In Silent Hill 3, I feel like these things happen way more often, but not too often, so it doesn't get repetitive or predictable. After getting jump scared here, we find a bulletproof vest, which is basically an armor. We take less damage, but we also move slower, like we suddenly became really fat and are trying to walk underwater. It's worth putting on if you're mostly trying to kill enemies with melee weapons and you want to conserve ammo. After using a coat hanger to reach a ladder, we manage to reach the upper floor, where we find something that's not really supposed to be inside of a mall, I think. Familiar looking hospital gurneys are scattered all over the place. Reminds me of Silent Hill 1. But what's even stranger is this TV. If you interact with it, it will show you a very familiar scene. For all of you keen observers out there, yes, this is the exact scene from the first game, where Harry also saw her on a TV screen in some kind of mall. It's Cheryl, Harry's original daughter, and Heather's previous incarnation. Why did she suddenly appear in front of Heather? Is this some form of a repressed memory? Heather doesn't even recognize her. Maybe Silent Hill is trying to remind her of her past. Claudia did tell her to remember her true self. Maybe she wants her to remember what happened in the first game. Regardless, we have more pressing matters to attend to, like going here and getting these nuts. We also find a dog on a plate. Someone actually wanted to eat it. I didn't know we were in China. We move on and find a steel pipe, which appears in every game and is the most balanced weapon. After I picked it up, I noticed the description of the knife has changed. It probably changed before that. At first, she said it's just for self-defense, but now she's excited to walk around with it. That's a bit concerning. We go out into the lobby and find a giant ladder. It's probably even longer than the one in MGS3. It's going down into a frightening abyss, so that's probably where we need to go. Eventually, we come across a million flying bugs, or bats, or whatever these fuckers are. They're blocking our path, and Heather doesn't want to stand there stabbing each and every one of them. I told you she was lazy. Okay, fine. We'll use some nerd science to take them out. We combine bleach and detergent with a nearby bucket to create a very toxic gas. The way Heather screams always makes me laugh. After completing our little science experiment, we turn on a fan to spread the gas and kill these flying buggers. So if the fan wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to kill them and Heather would be stuck here forever. Also, if the fan is switched on while you're combining the chemicals, you die with those bugs. After evading some enemies, not now Heather, don't examine stuff when there's tons of hellish creatures around you. After evading some enemies, we find a nutcracker, which we use to crack these nuts that we picked up, which gives us a jewel called the Moonstone. I don't know why a stone from the moon was inside of a walnut. We use the stone to open a door with a picture of a moon. And with that, we're about to reach the end of our little shopping spree in the mall. This is where that giant ladder is located. Heather slowly makes her way to it. With no other choice, she decides to climb down into the darkness below. Making her way down, she finds herself in some kind of abandoned part of the mall. More abandoned. The ladder breaks down behind her, which means she's stuck here. And you know she's not alone down here. Now I have a very important question for you. Maybe it's a little bit personal, but did you like fighting the purple spore monsters? Well, how about fighting a giant purple dick monster instead? Yep, that's what we're fighting now. This might be the freakiest looking boss in this game. Maybe even in the franchise. It's just a long and thick monster, but I love how it looks like a genuine monster. And there's something kind of realistic about its movements. I can't quite put my finger on it. And I don't really want to put my finger on it. That would be weird. Like with every fight, you shoot until it dies. But this one can hide inside of its protective penis shell, where it's invincible. If you keep shooting, you'll just be wasting your shots. He can go in and out of these tunnels, and can also tackle you, so you need to follow its movements to avoid making contact. There is some strategy here. It can even use a headbutt on the ground to create an earthquake. It's a genuinely cool boss. The only downside to this fight is that it takes a million years for Heather to get up if she's hit. She just lies there, taking a nap. Come on Heather, get up. I don't really want to think about how a giant schlong just hit a miner in the face. Let's wrap this up. After sustaining enough damage, the giant dildo goes down, and the mall is saved. But I still hate malls. Just like in the first game, the bosses are like the nightmare's hosts. If they die, the other world disappears, all of the enemies are gone, and everything goes back to normal. Maybe normal isn't accurate, the environment goes back to its less shitty state. Of course, this shift is a bit much for Hazel.
Am I back?
With the mall restored to its former glory, Hazel makes her way out of this place. By the way, go here before leaving. If you run straight to the exit, you won't be able to come back here, and you will miss out on some health and ammo pickups. Of course, we can't just quietly walk out of here, because this creep is still stalking us.
Heather,
It's you.
what just happened?
You must be one of them!
What did I do? And what do you mean by one of them?
You're in on this with that Claudia, aren't you?
Claudia? What about her?
He tells Hazel that Claudia was the one who hired him to find her, which is immediately suspicious, though he says that he's more like a freelancer. He just does the job and gets paid. He doesn't pick sides. Like us, he seems confused by this whole situation. And also like Hazel, he's able to see the monsters. So it's not a Silent Hill 2 situation, where everyone sees the monsters differently, and some might not even see any monsters at all. It's more like in the first game, where everyone is seeing the same shit. Maybe he is just a normal person, a random detective who was randomly chosen by Claudia to be her private investigator, and he has nothing to do with the cult. At this point, we don't know enough about him, and we don't have a reason to trust him, so we just kind of leave him behind.
What should I do?
Hell if I know.
Damn, she knows exactly what to say. We're in the subway station, and of course it's spooky. What did you think? Like the mall, it seems abandoned. Like everyone just disappeared. We find a subway map which tells us where to go. Oh, okay. It's good that you know that, Hazel, but I didn't know that. You didn't think to tell me where we're going up until now? She lives on Bergen Street, the same street seen in Jacob's Ladder. This whole station is similar to the beginning of that movie. In every game the developers put some kind of reference to that film. It's lovely. We find the correct platform, Bergen Street Platform 3, and for now there aren't any monsters. But you can still tell that something is wrong. No one is here, no one but us and the sounds of our footsteps. And other sounds. Yeah, this really embodies the feeling you feel when you're at the train station alone at night. We eventually go down to the platforms and some bad doggies show up. You know what else shows up again? Another nutcracker. I don't know why this game is obsessed with nuts, but we've had sperm and dick monsters, so I guess it makes sense. This time we're not cracking nuts though, we use it to break some chains and open this door. Going down the stairs, we find a train that stopped moving, which is good for us because it contains a really cool birthday present. No, seriously, it's literally gift wrapped. It's a shotgun. Thanks, Silent Hill. I always wanted a shotgun. I always get socks instead. I'll be sure to give you something cool for your birthday as well, but nothing actually comes for free. The moment we pick up the shotgun, a new big enemy shows up. And now there's also enemies in previous locations. This new enemy is tough. It takes a lot of hits to go down. He's like a sumo wrestler. At least we can turn him into a pancake. Look at him becoming all flat and shit. Exploring the station further, we come across a dead end. But not quite. We can continue by jumping down on the tracks. We have nowhere else to go. Plus, there's a door here. It's glowing. It draws your attention. Obviously this is where we need to go. Right? Wrong. This is Silent Hill's most infamous trap. It makes you think that you need to go here, and it even sends enemies to discourage you from going back. But the door is locked, and there's nowhere else to go. And before you have time to think, you die. Dick move, game. Dick move. What you're actually supposed to do is interact with the door and immediately run back to the platform. The train narrowly misses Heather and then stops. I guess it ran over the demon dogs and killed them. We enter the train and the doors locked behind us. Heather, I don't think banging on the doors will help. You're just hurting yourself. Welcome to the train level, or more like the train segment. We get to fight more sperm demons. Did you buy a ticket for the train, or are you just a freeloader? Hey man, thanks for waiting your turn. I really appreciate you not attacking me while I was murdering your friend. Now die. We even fight giant sperm demons, who can still be stun-locked easily. Even the sumo wrestler can be stun-locked. Pathetic fools. Like every part of this game, it feels spooky and claustrophobic. But it's especially true here. You're basically stuck inside of a moving, cramped metal box. At least in other areas, you have the illusion that you can run away because it's a more open space. But not here. You're stuck here. For now. Eventually the train decides to stop. We get out and see that whatever is going on, it's following us. Even though we're not even in Silent Hill just manifests around us, wherever we go. There is a reason for that, which we will learn later. This symbol also keeps appearing wherever we go. No matter where we go, it's there. It's always there. It's affecting our reality. No. Tap the video. Tap the video before it gets to you too. Tap the video. We head to the exit, and this camera shot makes it seem like something is literally following us. The exit leads us to a long tunnel, which gives us a little break, some time to reflect. You might think, oh boy, finally, we're getting out of the subway and we're going home. Nope, you're still stuck here, and there's monsters everywhere, literally everywhere, and the atmosphere is extremely foreboding. But don't worry. We find this huge weapon, so now we can easily kill the monsters. It's shit. It can't hit anything. Look at this crap. It won't hit anyone unless it's a big target. And even then, it's not worth it because it's super slow. That's stupid. I need a drink. We were supposed to be heading home, but no matter what we do, we're trapped in these tunnels. The mall, the subway station, all of these places are supposed to be ordinary. Instead, they serve as our prison. The only way out of here is this hole. But unfortunately, it's filled with water, so we can't go down there. There's a machine that can drain the water, but it has no fuel. Nearby, we find some kerosene. We pour some of it into the wine bottle, we fight more giant cum stains, go back to the machine, and force it to drink the fuel. The machine turns on and sucks the water away. We can finally leave this place. At last, we can go home. Welcome to the sewer section. It stinks down here. It also has long and dark hallways. And there might be something waiting for us inside of the water. Nope, I didn't see anything. There's nothing there. Danger? Keep out? Nah, you're not the boss of me. I'm a rebellious teenager. I can do whatever I want. So maybe there is something in the water. Let's use a hairdryer to give it a little shock. Yeah, take that. That's the last time you're gonna touch little girls with your long tentacles.
Can you stop talking about little girls and get out of the sewers already? It stinks!
Oh, I thought you're not gonna show up anymore. I thought you were only part of my subconscious.
Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine.
Okay.
Bitch!
Woo! We go deeper into this stinky place and avoid enemies. Go down the stairs, then go up the stairs, climb a ladder, and finally, we are home. Psych! We arrive at some construction site. Heading inside a nearby building, we find notes about how multiple floors had their ceiling crumble. I guess the construction site workers didn't finish their job. They were probably underpaid. We go to the highest floor and find a collapsed ceiling. Apparently, some poor person is living here. They probably had nowhere else to go, so they made this makeshift home. That's rough. Oh well, they probably won't need this mattress. They can sleep on the cold, hard floor. Whee! I only needed to use it to cushion my fall. We climb through a hole to get outside. You know what? I liked it more on the inside. Heather manages to avoid the flying Beyblades and climb into another building, which is of course very dark and creepy. It would be weird if it wasn't. It's filled with monsters, a lot of them, everywhere, and creepy mannequins too. Don't worry, they cannot hurt you. Wow, I guess she couldn't handle the pressure, and she lost her head. Ah!
That's cringe!
Ow! It seems like this building served many purposes. You have a dance hall, you have something like an art gallery, you even have a room where a fat asshole ambushes you the second you enter. It's great, but it's mostly an office building where a lot of people probably worked their 9-to-5 jobs, which is by far the scariest place in any Silent Hill game, but it's an office building that has a fucking katana. I'll take that. Time to make some sashimi. There's also a screwdriver and our only way out of here, an elevator with slightly open doors. In order to fully open them, we use a car jack we stole from one of the offices. The elevator isn't working, but with the doors wide open, we can go down and... Wait, no, we can't. It's too high. What we actually need to do is use the screwdriver to break into this desk and get a rope. Why did this person have a rope in their office? I don't know, but there's probably a kinky reason for it. Man, we're just stealing everyone's shit. Just stealing everything we see. We're so cool. Anyway, we use the rope to climb down the elevator, where we eventually come across a random bathtub on the floor. For whatever reason, instead of looking for a way out, Heather decides to examine the bathtub. It doesn't work. There's just blood coming out of it. It's probably on its period. Wait, what? After passing out, we hear a very familiar voice. It's our daddy, Harry Mason.
It's being invaded by the other world, by a world of someone's nightmarish delusions come to life.
For some reason, we hear something he said in the past, how he described the events of the first game. The past is slowly coming back to her, but it's time to wake up now.
Oh no, not again. Did she do this too?
I've said it already, and I might say it again, but Heather is dealing with this surprisingly well. She's not really scared, she's more pissed off, whatever fear she had in the beginning gradually turned into anger. I don't know if it's supposed to be smiling or screaming, but one thing is certain. This person was clearly going to the dentist often. These are some pretty white teeth. We're in the other world again, and goddamn, watching it take over reality in real time is so cool. I mean, I would be shitting myself if I was there, but as a player, it's amazing. And all of that happened because we decided to touch some random bathtub. In the next room, we see some kind of feminine figure holding a child. We've seen sperm, penises, bloody period bathtubs, and now we see something resembling maternity. There's clearly a theme here, but we don't have time to figure that out because we see that someone was spying on Heather and called her the Holy One. This picture is located next to someone who is a real eccentric fellow.
Heather. That's what you're called now, isn't it?
And who are you?
The name's Vincent. Don't forget it, okay? I'm on your side.
So you say. But how do I know you're not with her?
Her? You mean Claudia? Please don't lump me together with her. She was totally brainwashed by that crazy old hag. Well, I guess crazy old hag is a bit harsh. She is your mother, after all.
My mother? What do you mean?
You don't remember? So Harry didn't tell you anything. I guess he hid the truth to keep you on his side, eh? That figures. He's a pretty sneaky guy.
Don't talk about my dad like that!
Sorry, I apologize.
So this weirdo seems to know a lot. He knows about Heather, about Harry, and he seems to know Claudia personally. They are both part of the Order, this fucked up cult, but according to him, he wasn't manipulated like her. When he said that she was brainwashed by an old hag, he was talking about Dahlia. Technically, yeah, she is Heather's original mother. She was Alessa's biological mother. Well, before she turned into fried chicken, she was one of the people who brainwashed Claudia when she was little. Which really isn't surprising. It's not unreasonable to think that she was spreading her religion and brainwashing children for years. She probably came to schools and did lectures on how God will bring about eternal paradise. She just forgot to mention the part where everyone dies, but that's not important. What is important is that Claudia was one of the kids who listened to her, and she took it very seriously. But we'll talk about her later. Right now, we have to focus on this goofball. Calling Vincent strange would be an understatement. It's like saying that Kratos was a little annoyed when he killed all of the gods. Weirdly enough, he's the nicest person we've met so far. Vincent, not Kratos. Though I wish Kratos was here, but he's not exactly a friend. It's more like a the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of situation. He seems to enjoy being in this nightmare place. He's fascinated by it, almost like he wants to study it. He's also not harmed in any way. Either he somehow knows how to manipulate the other world because he's part of the Order, or the monsters just don't attack him for whatever reason. Heather understands that he's not really going to help her right now, even though he claims that he could. So she basically calls him a weirdo and leaves. I'd say Vincent is the most interesting character in this game. You can bet your sweet tushy that we'll see him again. Moving on, we go into an elevator and get locked in here. Forever. That's it. It's done. Or we can just push a button and the door just opens up. So I guess the metal gate was just an intimidation tactic. Let's pick number 4. Japanese people love this number. Yup, not creepy at all. Totally normal stuff. All of the doors are locked. There's nothing to do here. So we go back to the elevator and go to floor number 1. We supposedly find the exit that will finally get us out of here, but it's blocked by this. No, Heather, don't provoke the creepy monster with a spinning nipple. This creature is called the Glutton, and whatever it is, it's blocking our way, and we can't do any damage to it. We'll have to find a different way to deal with it. But fuck, is this thing creepy. I think Silent Hill 3 has the creepiest imagery in the franchise, and maybe the creepiest sounds too. Apparently Heather used to smoke, but she quit. Good for her. After exploring, we find a story about a naive priestess that wanted to defeat a monster, not with violence, but with kindness. And then she died. Seems about right, but this is only the middle of the story. The beginning and ending are missing. Here we meet these, I don't even know what they are. They're called a slurper. And yeah, they are sloping my patience. They look like they lost their glasses, and they're looking for them on the floor. These enemies are so annoying. They knock you on the ground, and it takes half an hour for you to get up, and then they try to climb on you. Let's move on. Life insurance? In a place like this? That's a good one. We go back to the first floor and find the beginning of that story. Heather seems to remember reading it some time ago. Heading deeper, we find the last part of the story. After dying, the priestess came back to life and uttered a single phrase. Heather then mutters that same phrase to herself.
Tu fui ego eris. Weird writing. What was that?
Something happened. The monsters that were here are gone. More importantly, the indestructible creature, which obviously represented the monster in that story, is also gone. If you're wondering what that tofu ego stuff was, it's Latin for I was you, you will be me. Or, as you are, I was. As I am, so you shall also be. Or something like that. So we basically told the monster that we used to be gluttonous, and it will eventually become like us, a blonde teenager. If you're wondering how that phrase managed to defeat the monster, I don't know. I guess it was offended and ran away like a giant fleshy bitch. But now we can get out of this crazy place and finally go outside. We're outside. It's weird wandering streets that aren't part of Silent Hill. If it wasn't clear up until now, we're not actually in the spooky town. We're in some random town. Strangely, it also seems abandoned. No matter where we go, there's always a sense of isolation. These games are masterful at giving you that lonely feeling. At least there's no fog here, and yet, for an as of now unspecified reason, we still had to deal with Silent Hill's bullshit, the monsters, the puzzles. Somehow it came here. All we know is that it has something to do with Claudia, and that weird dude that reminds me of Atakan from Metal Gear. If Atekan was a religious nutjob instead of a weeaboo,
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
Heather is just running around with a katana in the streets. Maybe she's the weeaboo. We get inside of our apartment building and we haven't got any mail. There's no letter, from a dead wife or otherwise. Heading inside, we're finally about to reunite with our beloved father, but what we'll find will shock us. It will shock us to our very core. Up until now, the game was genuinely terrifying, and at the same time, kind of goofy, but it wasn't particularly emotional. Well, that's about to change. But before that, why is Heather acting so casually? She doesn't seem like someone who literally got out of hell. She sounds like someone who is tired after getting back from the gym.
Dad, I'm home. Listen, something really crazy's going on. I think we should... Dad? Dad?
I love you, Dad. You're the best dad ever. Oh, you're dead. Fuck.
No! No!
Harry is dead, sitting in a pool of his own blood. While we were making our way home, something came here and killed him. We thought that whatever is going on is only happening around us, but no, it got here too. This is way sadder than that part in The Last of Us, where the protagonist from the first game is also killed. The voice actress for Heather, who is also named Heather by the way, did an amazing job. She can be sassy and sarcastic, but can bring out a great amount of sadness when the scene demands it. And that's exactly what she did here. This is by far the saddest part of the game, and one of the saddest moments in the franchise. After everything we've been through with Harry in the first game, after everything he did to protect his daughter, he's met with a gruesome fate. Yeah, maybe he wasn't the most interesting or charismatic character, but he was determined to protect the only family he had. Not anyone would go into a spooky town to find their daughter. He was the best father ever. He didn't deserve this. Though, now that I think about it, it is weird how he lost to the creature that killed him. I mean, this is the man that murdered a flying fetus god and a lot of other weird creatures, all by himself, with no combat experience. And you're telling me that he died to one random monster? Come on, you could have taken him, but it's okay. I'll take him down for you. Also, was Harry wearing the same clothes from the first game? He hasn't changed in over 17 years? Well, I guess he saved a lot of money by doing that. After crying for a while, Heather notices a blood trail that leads to the roof. She goes up the stairs, and who does she meet?
Did you do this?
You're late.
But why? Why?
Revenge for 17 years ago, for one thing. If not for him, our dream would have come true. And then he took you away from us.
I'll get you for this!
So everything's happening because of this annoying, smug, shit to cunt. She didn't kill Harry just out of revenge though. She mainly did it to fill Heather with hatred. She wants Heather to give birth to God, who will supposedly create some kind of paradise. Claudia is just trying to do what's best for mankind, guys. She's definitely not delusional. Apparently, God is already inside of Heather. This is why the other world and all of the spooky monsters could manifest around us, without us actually going to Silent Hill. The power of the God is making this happen. So it doesn't matter where we'll go, it will always be there. It's literally a part of Heather, and Claudia somehow activated its power when Heather was at the mall. In the first game, Alessa, who was 14 years old at the time, was supposed to give birth to a god. Dahlia said that God was nurtured by hatred. Strong negative emotions make it more powerful. Because Heather is the reincarnation of Alessa, somehow God was carried over to her. Basically, it was inside of her since birth. It just needed to wait until Heather was mature enough and full of hatred. First of all, I thought God was dead because we killed it in the first game, so how come it was still inside of her? I guess a part of it survived. Second, God damn it. This fucking cult is really obsessed with impregnating minors against their will, and they teach this stuff to children. You see this child? The child that is the same age as you? Yeah, so we're going to do everything in our power to get this child pregnant so we can have our demon god. Write it down, kids. It's going to be on the test tomorrow. Jessica, are you paying attention?
You snotty little brat!
Claudia keeps yapping about God, but all I hear is
God's lessons are so beautiful.
I'm sorry, is this crazy?
Heather isn't really happy about this whole situation, so she points a gun at Claudia. But she's like, nah, you can't shoot me, sister. I'm not the one who actually killed your father. It was this guy. And I'm like, okay, so shoot them both. Shoot them both, Heather.
I'll be waiting where all begins. In the town of Silent Hill.
You could have just shot her so many times before she left. Also, Claudia just left him to die here. Was he just standing there this whole time, patiently listening to our conversation? This is the second boss of the game. He's called the Missionary, and is supposed to be the member of the Order. Even though he looks like a freakish monstrosity, he seems to have a good amount of intelligence, since he understood Claudia's command of killing Harry. It's unclear if he's just some dude, but Heather sees him as a monster because of Silent Hill's influence, or if he's an actual monster. We can't know for sure, but I think it's the first option. He's supposedly a member of the cult, and as insane as they are, I don't think they let literal monsters enter their secret tree club. Also, he actually listens to commands. He has loyalty to Claudia and the Order. A random monster wouldn't do that. In the first game, we even see a creature attacking a member of the Order. But it doesn't matter what it is. It killed Harry. It's going down. I know you took out your pistol, Heather, but we're not going to shoot him. We're gonna beat him at his own game. He used a blade to kill Harry, so we'll use a blade to kill him. Something interesting about this boss, he can't see us if we turn off the flashlight, so you can easily just shoot him from afar, but no. This clown doesn't deserve a quick death. For a Silent Hill boss, and any game with tank controls, he's a really fast and nimble enemy. He can quickly run away or close the distance, but it doesn't matter. His speed won't save him from us. You wanted my heart to be filled with hatred? Here, taste my hate upon my blade, and upon my foot, and die. After killing that piñata, we go back inside and find Douglas. He's shocked as much as we are. Naturally, Heather is a bit shaken by everything that happened, so she lashes out at Douglas, ordering him to leave. He does agree, but after calming down a bit, she realizes that he's really not a part of all of this. He's really just a random guy that was incidentally hired by Claudia. They decide to give Harry a makeshift burial. That's the best they can do right now. Douglas asks Heather what's her next plan, and she tells him that
I'm going to Silent Hill.
What's in Silent Hill?
I don't know.
Do you think it's safe?
Of course it isn't. I don't know what kind of hell is waiting for me there, but I've got no other choice. I don't care about God or paradise. If that's what she believes, then fine. but she won't get away with what she did. When I find her, I'll kill her myself.
Well done, Claudia. Your plan of pissing her off worked. You smug bitch. Heather wants to go to Silent Hill, which is her original home. Douglas tries to be a nice guy and tells her that revenge is bad, but Heather doesn't give a shit. She's going to kill that witch no matter what it takes, even if it means going into a literal nightmare town. Douglas knows that he can't stop her, so he at the very least offers to drive her there. He does feel partially responsible for what happened. Also, Heather probably doesn't have a license, and she starts showing signs of concerns for him. That's nice. Douglas is a weird but kind character. We don't really learn much about him, other than him saying that nobody is going to cry for him. Which is sad, but is here to help. Before leaving, we can explore the house, interact with some objects, and with the bloody chair. This isn't the last time we'll be able to explore the protagonist's apartment. We can take a look at Heather's room and learn a little bit more about her. She has posters, some books, some dolls, even a stun gun, normal stuff that any woman should have. But more importantly, she has her own bathroom. That's incredible. I'm really jealous. Do you know what it's like wanting to go, but someone else is already sitting there, and now you have to sit and wait until they get out? That's my version of Silent Hill. After saying her goodbye to Harry, Heather meets Douglas outside. Before leaving, he tells her that weirdo Vincent came by and told him that when they get to Silent Hill, they should look for a guy named Leonard, whoever that is.
Here, take this too.
What's this?
Your father was holding it.
He says he's been to Silent Hill once, on a missing person case. He couldn't find that person. Maybe he was looking for James? Except for maybe one ending, he does go missing there, though I don't know who hired Douglas to look for him. Probably some random relative. Oh, that James went to search for his dead wife in Silent Hill. He was always a bit crazy. That nutty scoundrel. I don't know how to do a old person voice. It was supposed to be some old aunt or something. The closer we get, the more she remembers what happened there. Even though she's a different person, she's technically a reincarnation of Alessa and Cheryl. So somewhere deep inside of her, she has their memories and even their emotions. She basically summarizes the first game for Douglas, and for anyone else who hasn't played it.
But in the end, that god was killed by a single person. My father, Harry Mason. I guess it wasn't much of a god if it could be killed by a human being.
Hey, that's what I said.
But I think Claudia's trying to do the same thing again. And I've been chosen as the sacrifice. After the god was killed, the girl reappeared. She was holding a baby in her arms before she died. She gave the baby to my father.
Yeah, that was pretty accurate. I guess she watched my video about it. She then talks fondly about Harry and thanks him for everything he's ever done for her. Later we can even read the contents of Harry's notebook that he left for Heather and get a glimpse into his character. This game tries to establish that he did indeed had a character beyond just wanting to be a good dad and being confused half of the time.
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? Huh? What was that? I don't know what happened. Have you seen a little girl anywhere? Who in the hell was that? Who are you? What are you talking about? Have you seen a little girl? So you don't know anything either. Great. What? What are you talking about? I just don't get it.
He also summarizes the plot of the original game, which is really handy for anyone who was still confused and didn't fully understand the story. He also shares his feelings. At the end of that game, he received a baby. It was his daughter, but at the same time, it wasn't. It was something new. Could he love this baby? What if it's evil? Her existence isn't natural. He even thought about killing her. Just wrapping his hands around her tiny neck and knowing that she came from that awful place made him feel her. You can't really blame him for that. Heck, I wouldn't even take her in the first place. I would have tossed her on the side of the road the second I got out of that crazy place. Last time I received a child from an angelic entity, it didn't end well, let me tell ya. Basically, a lot of terrible thoughts plagued his mind. He felt horrible about it, but despite it all, he ultimately decided to raise her. He saw how she smiled and laughed. He knew that deep down, he did truly love her. What a great papa. It really is a heartbreaking moment, but we don't have much time to think about it. We're getting closer to Silent Hill. Man, I wonder how many times I said the words Silent Hill in this video. If you want, you can start taking a drink every time I say it. Or even watch the video from the beginning and then start drinking. But I'm not responsible for the bad decisions that you will probably make after drinking so much. Also, we need to share a stinky room with Douglas. That's kind of awkward. Somehow they know where that Leonard guy lives. I guess Vincent told them, and for some reason they also decide to search for him in the hospital. I feel like I missed something. I don't know what made them think it's an important place to check, but that's our next destination. Douglas will go check his house, and we're going to the hospital. I have one question though. How did they get to this motel? Obviously they drove here, but I mean, how did they get inside of this room? I don't think there was anyone here that could have given them the keys, so what? They just stole the keys and took them without paying? They're gonna ruin the economy in this town. We get another nice scene between Heather and Douglas, where he admits that he's afraid. He's just a normal dude. He doesn't have experience with weird supernatural bullshit like this. It's a really heartfelt, kind of wholesome moment. We're finally in Silent Hill, and it's literally the same map from Silent Hill 2. That's fine. It makes sense for the developers to copy the same map. The Yakuza games do it all the time, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can visit the same locations we did in the second game, and the monsters aren't the same. It's mostly dogs now. They're everywhere. But also this flying pointy shithead. I think these are my most hated enemies, specifically because of the sounds they make. It's maddening. We can't go bowling. But that's the place. It's the place where Eddie ate that pizza. We can, however, visit this place, the strip club. It looks exactly the same as before. You're right, Heather. This is a better paradise. I also prefer beautiful women over purple semen monsters. If you explore this place, you'll find a poster of Maria from Silent Hill 2. Does that mean that she was a real person? But it describes her as having long black hair, which wasn't the case. I'm not sure what it means. Maybe it's just an Easter egg. Maybe not everything has symbolism, and it's just here for fun. God, stop taking everything so seriously. Just enjoy yourself. There's not much else to explore outside. So, we find the hospital, which is the same hospital we were in the previous game, and go inside. Immediately, there are tons of creepy sounds, and I'm actually on edge. and 2 seconds later we get ambushed by nurses. They look similar to the ones in the previous game, but it's mostly due to their uniforms. They don't have their round and big personalities. No, they act more like the ones from the first game. They're hunched over, and they run at you in a weird way. Like the last time we've been here, most of the doors are locked. These games really are a locked door simulator. We find a note about this Leonard guy. Unsurprisingly, he's a mental patient, and is kind of insane. There's also a note about someone named Stanley Coleman, who is also a mental patient. He's described as being obsessive. In 2 seconds you will see that this is a total understatement. Nearby, we find another note. This time, it was written by Coleman himself, and it's addressed to Heather. Wait, did he come to the first floor, leave the note here, and then went back to his cell? Now that's some dedication. He says he's been thinking about her every day, waiting for her, and he thinks she's been waiting for him too. He also says that he loves her, and that he left a doll for her to play with. Yeah, he's a total simp, which is not creepy at all. Heather has some choice words to say about it. Another letter, then another letter. Yeah, I'd say he's a little bit obsessive. I'm gonna give you a spoiler now. I don't really know what's the point of him, because we never actually meet him. There's a locked door here, and we need a password to open it. Next to it is a good old-fashioned riddle. It's actually more like a math problem. Oh boy, time to take out a piece of paper and write it down. Seriously, you thought I was joking? Take out a piece of paper and write it down. Yes, I'm talking to you. Do it, right now. Okay, I know you came here for a Silent Hill video, but now it's time for math class. No, not that kind of math. Unfortunately.
You snotty little brat!
The geeky kind. Hey, don't blame me. Silent Hill manifested this puzzle for some reason. I guess it really likes math. Okay, so the important thing here is to not read it chronologically. Start with the second page. It says that the numbers are not repeated, which means that every number is different. 3 of the numbers are not in the top row. The code consists of 4 numbers in total, so only 1 number can be in the top row. 2 of them are not in the right row, and 1 of them is the final key. That line made me think that it's referring to the number 9, because it's the final number. But no, I actually don't know what this means, so just ignore it. The memo says the last number is half the first number, which means that the first number is an even number, because you have to be able to divide it by 2. We can't have something like a 1.5 here, it has to be a full number. With all of the information we have, it means it can only be a 6 or an 8, and the fourth one can only be a 3 or a 4. So the third one is smaller, so it can be a 2 or a 3, and the second one has to be a 4 or a 6. But if we go with the first option, it violates the second rule. 3 of the numbers are not part of the first row. Only 1 number can be here, which means that this has to be the correct combination. None of the numbers are repeated, 3 numbers are not at the top, and 2 of them are not on the right. Bingo bango, it works. I don't know if I'm the only maniac who tried to explain math homework in a Silent Hill video. It was almost an entire page of my script. I could have just said something like, oh, there was a really nice math puzzle here, and then I could have just moved on. But whatever. You enjoyed it, right? Please tell me you enjoyed it. Oh shit, they're packing heat. I didn't realize I brought a sword to a gunfight, but I still win. Obviously. The hospital is genuinely creepy, more than before. These nurses are everywhere, and they're more unsettling. It's fucking great. We find an alarm clock and use the numbers on it to unlock a briefcase, which then gives us a camera. This is where the teddy bear and the shotgun were previously. Instead of those, now we get nail polish removal and perfume. You can actually equip the perfume, which will make enemies more attracted to you. I guess it smells really nice. That obsessive weirdo who keeps writing love letters to us used glue to stick a key and some other stuff on the wall. Using the nail polish remover, we are able to remove the key. Heading down into the basement, we see a creepy wheelchair that serves as another reminder of our past life as Alessa. She was stuck on a wheelchair because of her injuries. And oh, a submachine gun. Cool. Heading into a nearby room, we find a narrow path, but we can't get through. So we use the camera we picked up to see what's on the other side, which gives us some kind of password. After we use it, the camera just disappears from the inventory. I get that from a game design standpoint, it shows us that we don't need this item anymore, but what happened in game? Did Heather just throw away a perfectly good camera? Does she even know how much it costs? These are the real questions we should be asking in these games. If we want, we can follow James's tracks by going to this roof. This is where Pyramid Head used James to break this fence. I guess someone fixed it. I like how Heather is reassuring us that it won't break like last time, like she knows exactly what happened here. We're getting close to Leonard, maybe even closer than we thought. We enter a nearby room and get a mysterious phone call.
Jesse, we have to cook.
No, it's actually the guy we're looking for, Leonard, and he mistakes us for Claudia. He basically calls Claudia a dumbass for believing that God will save mankind. But who is he anyway? Why is he randomly calling us?
Where did I go wrong?
Listen to me already. I'm not Claudia.
You're not Claudia.
My name is Heather.
Heather.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Leonard Wolf. I'm sorry. I thought you were my daughter.
Yep, this guy is Claudia's daddy. He's locked up in here, and he quickly deduces our motives. He knows we want to murder her ass. Even though he just randomly called to yell at her, it seems he still cares for her. I'm not sure if he doesn't want his precious daughter to die, but he does want to stop her plans. If Heather can get him out of here, then maybe he can help us.
Where are you now?
I'm not sure myself, but the door is at the end of the hall on the second floor. I think I can be of help to you. I have a seal. Please.
A seal?
The way he said please was a bit suspicious.
Please.
And hanging up like that is rude, but at least now we have an exact destination. The end of a hallway on the second floor. I've already explored this place, so I don't know what he wants. Oh. This door wasn't here before. It's not even shown on the map. I don't think that's normal. Yep, something isn't right here. I just can't seem to put my finger on it. We're suddenly in some kind of corridor from hell. There's no place for exploration here. We can only go to one specific location. A single metallic door. But then we find ourselves in the same hallway. The process repeats itself. Only this time, it's even creepier. Eventually reaching another door, we get to another hallway. It keeps repeating, and it gets even more creepy and unsettling each time. This is scarier than PT. Eventually, we get trapped with a big red symbol. But it's different from the rest. It's not the same circle we've been seeing. This one doesn't make her head spin. It's less sinister. It looks very familiar.
Still has no use for me hiding. Eyes don't open. Getting a pulse, just barely breathing. Why? What is keeping that child alive?
'Cause 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 'c
Yeah, she did get a little weird when her head started bleeding and she tried to hug your father to death. It can happen to anyone. So yeah, Heather is getting more and more visions from the past. Her memories as Alessa are flooding back. Also, say hello to Valtiel. He looks creepy, but he won't hurt you. If you watch the opening cutscene while waiting in the main menu, you will see him turning a valve, and you might see him a few times throughout the game. Like a lot of things, we'll talk about it later. The phrase "we'll talk about it later" is a catchphrase in any video essay. So, if you haven't noticed, we're in the other world again. I think you noticed. This is where we get, probably, the best set piece in the franchise. I've been waiting to get to this part. We enter a room with a giant mirror. If you examine the mirror at the beginning of the game, Heather will say that she doesn't like them. She feels like there's a spooky reality on the other side, and the person in the reflection isn't really her. She probably has spectrophobia. It's the fear of mirrors. Yes, that's a real thing. There's a phobia for everything. Now, what do you think happens if you're somebody who's afraid of mirrors and you get locked in a place that has a giant mirror and you're in a town that can turn your worst fears into reality? Well, probably something like this. Scariest part of the game. First the inside of the mirror became twisted, and now your reflection stops moving, and everything distorts around you, which is totally ordinary, don't worry about it. Staying in here for too long can result in your demise. The door will be locked most of the time, but eventually you will be able to get out. The deeper we go, the more disturbing things we'll see, like this upside down corpse that filled a bucket with its blood, and a hand outside of a window. Thanks for the ammo, handy. This whole area reminds me of the other world from the first game, which is intentional. Everything is dark, rusty, and red. There's bloody hospital beds everywhere, exactly how it was for Alessa all those years ago. We solve a really easy puzzle and get a key, which is then used for... Hold on a second, someone is calling us again.
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Oh, I forgot your name.
Who are you?
Oh, okay, thanks. Happy birthday, dear, who are you? Happy birthday to you. Happy 31st birthday.
Oh, you think you're funny, huh? Some weird guy calls Heather and wishes her a happy birthday out of nowhere, Man, we've been attracting a lot of weirdos lately. Is this what it's like being a teenage girl? She asks him if it's Leonard. Even though he sounds nothing like him, the caller denies it and even calls Leonard a murderer. When Heather tells him that it's not actually her birthday, he gets really upset. He's like, Facebook told me it was today, damn it. That's nice of him. But he says that it's her 24th birthday, even though a minute ago he wished her a happy 31st birthday. But she's actually just 17. So which is it, you weird freak? Oh, you left me a present? Okay, never mind. Thank you. He says some more weird shit and hangs up.
But you're wrong. It's not my birthday.
Really? Is that really what's bothering you, Heather? You're not even gonna question who it was? I actually have no idea who that was. But we'll get to the speculations later. He even wrote us a message on the wall. And even gave us presents. Shucks. You shouldn't have. Well, actually you should have. I did need it. You weirdo. If you think about it, he might also be the one who left the shotgun on the train. It was gift wrapped, like a birthday present. Also, if you're thinking that it's that creep who wrote us those love letters, then no. He specifically states that he's not him. He says that guy is actually dead. He also called Leonard a murderer, so maybe Leonard killed that creep? I genuinely don't know. Moving on, we find a note from him that says, Happy 48th birthday. Basically, he's aware of all of her incarnations. It's the combination of all of her ages. Alessa was 14, Cheryl was 7, and she's 17. Okay, so he can do some math, huh? He's quite something. A real tough guy. The hospital in this game is genuinely unsettling, and is one of the best locations in the franchise. But every good and terrifying thing must come to an end. Using a plastic bag, we get blood from the upside down man. Oh, you don't like to carry it? Don't lie, Heather. You're a weirdo just like your father. He also carried around a bag of blood in a creepy hospital.
Don't talk about my dad like that!
We find an altar and fill it with the blood we collected. I mean, what else are you supposed to do with an altar located in a nightmare reality? The blood is spilled on the ground, and somehow it magically creates a ladder behind us. It leads to a really deep and dark hole. It's kind of spooky to go down there, but we must do it. If James could do it, so can we.
Yahoo!
Heading down the ladder, we get to a sewer-like location. We don't see anyone yet, but we do hear a familiar voice.
Heather?
Yeah? Leonard, where are you?
Thank you. Now I can finally leave here. Now Claudia's ridiculous dream is over. Well, I guess it's time to dispose of her. The salvation of all mankind. Ha! Why must we reward even the unbelievers?
What are you talking about?
About our plans, of course. It's true that God is merciful, but first, one must be chosen. Only we, who hearken to the voice of God, will be given the keys to paradise. Don't you think so, Heather?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and think whatever you want.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that I don't think the way you guys do.
So it seems that he's also a religious nutjob? Of course he is. He's part of the Order, and for some reason he thought that Heather was a true believer of God. Clearly she's not, and let's just say that he doesn't like atheists.
You're an unbeliever? You deceived me!
I didn't deceive you. We were both just wrong about each other. I thought you were a normal person.
After everything you've been through, you really thought that someone here might be a normal person? But I like how she just says it to him. Leonard isn't really happy about our supposed betrayal, and he kind of maybe definitely wants to kill us. Also, he somehow transformed into a monster?
Leonard? Is that you?
Death to all who turn their backs on God!
Is every person here a mental case? Well, I guess you're not a person anyway.
Best dialogue in the game. Heather is just rolling with it now. If you couldn't tell, he's not really a friend like we might have thought. He doesn't actually want to stop the birth of God. And he's actually worse than Claudia, if you can believe that. As much as she believes in her stupid fantasy of a glorious paradise, at least she wants everyone to enjoy it, no matter if they believe in God or not. But her father thinks that only those who believe may enter paradise. The non-believers are heretics that should die. Also, did you catch that? Heather says that he's not a person anymore. She sees that he doesn't look human, but like with the previous boss, it's not clear if he's actually a monster or if that's how she perceives him. This fight is kind of interesting. Unlike bosses in previous games, all of the fights are kind of interesting in this game. The bosses in Silent Hill 3 actually have some kind of gimmick to them. They don't just move slowly and let you shoot them, they each have their own unique pattern. The purple dickworm could protect itself and could hide inside of the tunnels. The asshole who killed Harry was very quick and nimble, and Leonard is trying to play hide and seek by hiding in the water. He can stay there for a long time. I guess he was a swimmer when he was younger. It's almost like a stealth boss, only the boss is the one using stealth against the player. But at the end of the day, you still just hit the thing until it dies. After playing Fruit Ninja with his body, the old man crumbles away. Claudia, I would say that now we're even. We both killed each other's fathers, but Harry Mason was worth much more than this asshole. He was way more handsome. The other world disappears with Leonard, and everything is back to normal. You didn't see my quotations, but I did quotations with my hands. So wait, help me understand this. We came to this hospital and went through literal hell just to kill some religious old guy who somehow turned himself into an ugly and really tall fucker. You know what? Worth it. We also got this seal from him. It's the seal of Metatron from the first game, the seal Alessa was using. We've seen it a lot back then when she tried to use it to stop God. And we've seen it not too long ago when we entered the other world. Maybe this will help us. With our objective complete, we head towards the exit. But at the same time, in a different place, a conversation is being held.
Why did you send her to my father?
Was that wrong?
It's your fault that he...
Oh, but surely it's a good thing. It means he was one of God's beloved, no?
Those who mock God will never receive salvation. You'll go to hell, Vincent!
It's Vincent and Claudia. It's the first time we see them together. They're arguing about their different views towards God. And for some reason, they decided to do it in our motel room? Why? While Claudia is a fanatic freak who thinks that everyone should go to heaven by force,
paradise.
Vincent is more down to earth and acknowledges the simple pleasures of this world. He also reveals to us that Claudia was physically abused by her father. He did it to force her to become a believer of God, and Vincent just watched from the side. I guess they were both children when that happened. Leonard literally beat the religion into her. He turned her into what she is today. Vincent decides to give her a psychiatric analysis.
What you call faith is nothing more than a child crying out for love. That's why you're all alone.
Of course she rejects the idea. Even if it was true and she just needed a hug, I would still kill her. They're both insane, but I kind of like Vincent. He at least seems somewhat reasonable, he doesn't want everything to burn, and he made fun of Claudia, so that's nice. We head back to the motel, and this weirdo is still here. He's probably lying, but he says Douglas left a message for Heather.
Don't you want to know what the message is?
Yeah, what did he say?
The church is on the other side of the lake.
Yeah, I don't think he said it like that. English, motherfucker.
You don't understand? That's where Claudia is. Across the lake. On the north side. If you're going, you better go through the amusement park. It's probably the only way in now.
Good. Was that so hard? He tells us how to get there. We still don't know exactly why he's helping us, but whatever, I'll take it.
Is that it for the message?
Uh-huh.
Thanks. Douglas really said that?
What's wrong? You don't trust me?
Amusement park, huh? That's our next destination. That's a familiar destination. We've seen it in the beginning of the game. We've seen it in the previous game, where we killed that nice lady in blue. She was very strong. And now we get to go there again. But this time things will be different. We head out back into the foggy town, run towards the amusement park, and kind of just teleport there. Heather enters inside and starts to feel a bit queasy. We then hear that very disturbing sound that plays at the beginning of the intro cutscene. Something has begun to move inside of her. Probably just a stomachache.
Oh, hell.
Heather is so desensitized at this point, she says there's nothing interesting here, while looking at the creepy body that's stuck inside of a weird box in a nightmare reality. Yeah, nothing interesting. This is pretty much the same as it was in the nightmare we had in the beginning of the game. The only difference is this part. Before going out, we hear something fall behind us. It's a box. Inside, there's a roller coaster key. We go back to where the roller coaster killed us in the beginning, but now we can use the key to shut it down. So everything's gonna be fine now. We're not gonna get run over. Oh shit, it turns back on by itself. All of this was pointless. Okay, come on. Get it over with. Kill me and... Wait. She could have done this all along? Why didn't she jump the last time this happened? She survives. There was no actual point in shutting off the roller coaster. Whatever. In the meantime, Douglas has a heart-to-heart with his employer. He's not really happy about being part of a plan that involves forcing a teenager to give birth to a demon god. So he finds Claudia, who I guess was just standing in the amusement park, and confronts her. But she's like, "Oh, but you don't understand, sir. Heather was stolen from us at the end of the first game. Watch the Silent Hill 1 video to understand. Harry kidnapped her from us." Yeah, okay, I guess technically she was kidnapped, the same way a father beating his child can technically be considered quality time, or how Metal Gear Survive is technically part of the Metal Gear franchise. It's not. She keeps yapping on and on about how everyone will go to heaven, there will be no disease or war, and everything will be lovely forever. But Douglas is like,
No this, no that, no nothing. A paradise for castrated sheep, maybe. Sounds pretty boring.
Douglas is the goat. He threatens to shoot her, and she has this shocked expression, like, "Oh my, how can you shoot me? You monster! I've done nothing wrong. How can you shoot a pure soul like me?" So basically, Heather has that demon god from the first game inside of her. I guess we didn't fully kill it back then. Part of it was still inside of Alessa, and I guess it was transferred to Heather when she was born. That sucks, but it explains everything. That's why reality has been warping around us, even in places outside of Silent Hill. It all comes from the god inside of her. Wherever she is, he's there too. Claudia used some kind of spell to activate it at the start of the game. That's why Heather didn't feel so good when she met her. Yeah, being a woman in Silent Hill is a bad idea. All they'd want to do to you is impregnate you with a demon fetus and burn you alive. Not fun. Heather arrives at the spooky haunted mansion. It's just a haunted house. It's never actually scary. Have you ever been to one? It's usually filled with cringe. Instead of something that is actually scary, a voice greets us and tells us to step inside. We go in and it starts to describe how a man killed his entire family. Just because, which is basically the plot of PT. But then, he says that it's just a prank, bro. The man only killed himself. He just wanted to scare us. And Heather has the same reaction as me. Yeah, cool story, bro. Where are the actual scares? We go to the next room and meet Danny.
That's Danny.
Oh, hi, Danny.
Yeah? That's all you got? Moving on, a spiky ceiling almost falls on us. The voice apologizes and explains how the place is falling apart and that
it wasn't supposed to stop there, I assure you.
Yeah, that is reassuring. Thanks.
There's the exit. I hope you enjoyed your tour. Please come back anytime. Or if you'd prefer, we could come and visit you instead.
We are presented with a fake exit. We go through it and then get killed by a spooky red light, which is exactly what happens in Downpour. First PT, now Downpour. I didn't realize how much those games copied from this one. This place really is haunted. What's good about it is that you can skip everything and run straight to the exit. You don't have to listen to everything over and over again if you die. Heather runs away from the red light district and now we're back outside. What is this? Swing racket? Ow! I'm reading here. We find a chain and attach it to this column and to this rusted door. Activating the ride makes the column spin and break the door. On the other side, we find Douglas, and he's not doing so good. I guess Claudia deflected his bullets at his leg, but then decided to leave him alive.
I'll call an ambulance.
Really, Heather? You're gonna call an ambulance? How are you gonna do that? You have no cell phone, and you can't really get out of here and call for help.
What'll we do if this god thing gets born?
Come on. How powerful could a god from a dump like this be?
Heather is cool. And yeah, last time a normal person just kicked God's ass. So maybe it really is not a big deal. This is actually another wholesome moment between them. She's worried about his well-being. Douglas admitting he always wanted to be Superman, which means the DC universe exists in Silent Hill. And he fondly compares her to his son, his criminal son, who died while robbing a bank. Okay, maybe this isn't that wholesome. He also kind of wanted to shoot Heather. At first it seems like a big betrayal, like he was lying to us the whole time. But no, he just came to a reasonable conclusion that maybe by killing her he would be able to stop God and finally end this nightmare. Even so, he can't bring himself to do it. Heather even trusted in him enough not to turn around and stop him. Douglas is truly the GOAT, as the kids say. So let's just leave him here, all alone, with all of the monsters crawling around. Bye. Also there's a rabbit here who got his head smashed. Cool. All of this time, we've been drip-fed more and more of our dark past. Now it's time to face that past. Physically. 2 seconds after entering, the carousel starts moving, and we have to kill 12 horses before we die from their farts. How are you supposed to figure this out? Well, someone stuck a note on this horse, which tells you what to do. After completing this task, the carousel starts descending, while we get a visit from ourselves. Kind of. This is our dark side, or more specifically, Alessa's dark side, which took physical form. It's called the memory of Alessa, and even though it's literally trying to kill us, it's not actually evil. It kind of has good intentions. It's a manifestation of Alessa's hatred towards the cult and what they did to her. It doesn't want Heather to suffer like she did, and it wants to prevent God from being born. So she decides to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. In her mind, the logical thing to do is to kill Heather to release her from her suffering. Makes sense, but nah. I appreciate your concerns, madame, but I can handle it. You can go back to wherever you came from. It's actually a really cool fight, maybe the best in the franchise? It's a mirror match. Mirror fights are usually cool. She uses the same weapons as Heather, and she's a tough cookie. She's probably wearing armor, like us. But eventually, we take her down. She disappears, leaving only a message behind her, about how she wanted to save us. Heather scoffs at the idea, and we move on. Poor Heather, she needs to deal with all of this bullshit just because her previous self was burned and abused by her idiotic mother. Being a reincarnation sucks. After defeating ourselves, we enter a church, just to see this stupid fucking cunt! Heather is finally about to shoot her, but then Claudia says,
"Not yet. The time is not yet at hand."
And Heather actually stands there and listens to her, and doesn't shoot her. You're really not going to shoot her just because she said, "not yet"? Is it that easy to control you? Have you no self-respect? Oh, okay. I guess we can try a different approach. Let's prank her. Let's pretend that we're Alessa.
Oh, Alessa. The world you wanted is nearly here.
That's not what I want.
Not you. Alessa. Your true self.
But I am Alessa. My little Claudia, my dear sweet sister.
Alessa, is it you? Oh, how I've missed you.
I don't need another world. It's fine the way it is.
But you said it yourself. The world must first be cleansed with fire.
But that's not what I want now.
Alessa, don't you want happiness? Have you become blind to all the hopeless suffering in the world? We all need God's salvation!
Listen, suffering is a fact of life. Either you learn how to deal with that or you go under. You can stay in your own little dream world, but you can't keep hurting other people. Besides, I'll never forgive you for hurting my father.
I wish only for the salvation of mankind. But for that to happen, the world must first be remade. And for that, we need God.
You self-righteous witch! No one asked you to help!
What is growing within you? You despise me, don't you?
You're damned right I do!
That's good.
Basically, Claudia and Alessa were childhood friends, which means that they were the same age, which means that this grandma-looking witch is only 24 years old. You see what being a stupid fanatic does to you? Anyway, the Order spread misinformation about how Alessa was the one who wanted paradise. And after the first game, the cult used her death to promote their propaganda even further. Basically, they just ignored the fact that she literally tried to stop them in the first game. Of course, Claudia believes all of this, so in her mind, she's just doing what her childhood friend wanted. She's just trying to make the world a better place. We can later read her diary and see how deeply attached she was to Alessa. Her father abused her and she had no friends, except for Alessa, who was kind to her. Claudia cherished their friendship. So much so that she still keeps the birthday card Alessa gave to her when they were 6 years old. After Alessa's death, she was already planning on using Heather to birth God. We see a more human side to her as she acknowledges that forcing her friend to be impregnated with a demon god is kind of cruel, and maybe she shouldn't do that. It's like there's a hint of her realizing that it's kind of a bad thing to do. On the other hand, she was reading a book called Young Slave, Child Exploitation, so I'm not sure she has the best moral judgment, but she did truly love Alessa in her own twisted way. Of course, we're still gonna kill her. The church is an interesting location. It looks like it's the base of operation for the Order. It's where the last few revelations are revealed. The other world makes a final appearance. And all of this is located right on top of Alessa's old bedroom, which we also saw in the first game. We'll get to it shortly. We move on and find a map? Made out of crayon? Whatever, I'll take it. Before actually moving on, there's an optional interaction with a member of the Order. If we enter inside, we can hear a woman crying and weeping. She prays and asks God for forgiveness for the sins she committed. She acknowledges that she deserves to die for whatever she did, but still wishes that her soul would find peace. She also mentions a dead daughter, a daughter that she murdered. Religious woman who committed unspeakable acts which caused her daughter's death? Sounds kinda familiar. I think this woman is meant to be Dahlia, or at least a representation of her, meaning this is our mother crying in front of us. Though she didn't seem very regretful in the first game.
My daughter will be the mother of God. You've been a ghastly little pest, haven't you, Alessa? Do what Mommy tells you now. But what a pity, yes?
Maybe after she died, she gained some clarity and self-awareness. Realizing how horrible her actions were, her soul started begging for forgiveness. If it's not her, then it's a random member of the cult who realized how fucked they are. Throughout this whole exchange, Heather just kind of awkwardly stood there all of this time. And now we're presented with a choice. Heather can choose to forgive her, which will ease the pain of this woman.
I forgive you.
Thank you, Lord.
Then she keeps standing there awkwardly. But you know what? I'm not gonna forgive her. I'm not gonna say anything. She can go to heck for all I care. I'll get into more details about it towards the end, but forgiving her also raises the chances of getting the bad ending, which to me confirms that forgiveness is the wrong choice here. Maybe you can forgive your mother for burning you and causing you to get pregnant against your will, but I can't. With nothing more to say, we move on. This is the last time we get to visit the other world in this game. Unlike how it usually is, it's not thrusted upon us unexpectedly this time. We actually, literally see it coming. We can physically see the other world on the other side of this gate. It's just there, existing on its own. With no other choice, we head towards it. There are some notable things that happen here, like seeing a giant save point on the floor. These red circles we've been seeing throughout the game, we find a note explaining what they are. They represent the halo of the sun, which is some kind of deity. Apparently you can draw it in any color other than blue, because somehow that would be considered a curse upon God. So too bad I don't have a blue crayon or something. We can also find a painting of ourselves, our previous self and our current self, Alessa holding us. I don't know who drew this, but how did you know how she looked at that moment, whoever you are? But good job. There are some spooky parts where footsteps can lead us into secret locations, like going through this painting. Of course, how can I forget about meeting this lovely gentleman again? Hey there, Valtiel. How's the weather down there? Look at him crawling around. He's so cute. We get to meet mini versions of that asshole that killed Harry. They're way weaker here. I guess they are just other members of the cult. We can find a book that shows God from the first game. And this woman, who kind of looks like Mary? There are interesting things here. But by far the most fascinating part is what happens next.
Hiya, Heather.
It's weird seeing someone so chipper in this place.
Well, who are you anyway?
Haven't you realized that yet?
Yeah, you're on Claudia's side.
I told you not to put me in the same category as that mad woman.
Well, you're pretty loony yourself.
I really like how Heather just talks back at the bad guys. She's the only one who does it. Obviously, Heather still doesn't trust him. Yet, Vincent explains that, yes, although he and Claudia believe in the same God, they still have different ideologies. Unlike her, he doesn't get mad if someone disrespects God.
It's not uncommon for people to worship the same God and still disagree.
God? Are you sure you don't mean devil?
Whichever you like. The point is that now I really am on your side.
For whatever reason, Vincent truly doesn't want God to be born. According to him, it would be too unpredictable. From what we know about him, we can infer that, although he's a part of this satanic cult, he doesn't want everything to burn and die, which is what will happen if God is brought to our reality. Vincent probably doesn't want to hurt anybody. He just wants to enjoy what this world has to offer and live a peaceful life. And he wouldn't be able to do that if God kills everyone, So in order to prevent that, he needs to get rid of Claudia. He's using Heather to do it, which might sound selfish, but Heather also wants her dead. He's very logical in that sense. At the end of the day, you gotta do whatever it takes to survive and live a happy life. At least that's what he believes. Which leads us to the greatest moment in the franchise.
You're the worst person in this room. You come here and enjoy spilling their blood. And listening to them cry out. You feel excited when you step on them and snuff out their lives.
Are you talking about the monsters?
Monsters? They look like monsters to you?
Oh no.
Don't worry. It's just a joke.
What the fuck? That is so chilling. This is the most fucked up part in these games, and it's just some dialogue. This one line might recontextualize the entire game, the entire franchise. Think about it. Every creature we've encountered might have been a human, whether they were random passerby or members of the cult and Heather just sees them as weird creatures is unknown. The line was already kind of blurry with the missionary and Leonard. They might have been people who were transformed somehow, or Heather just didn't see them as human anymore because of Silent Hill's influence. Who's to say it's not the same with every monster we've seen? In the beginning, after Heather asked Claudia about the monsters, she said they've come to witness the birth of paradise. That's not how you would talk about mindless monsters, which suggests that they might actually be human. The fact that Vincent can seemingly travel freely without getting harmed while being in the other world, which is usually an extremely aggressive and violent place, can also suggest that the monsters are actually just members of the cult, so they wouldn't attack him. And Vincent, he's not really confirming or denying it. That prick. It's just a joke to him. It's left ambiguous on purpose.
It's just a joke.
Which makes it all the more disturbing. From now on, whenever you're fighting enemies, there will always be a lingering thought at the back of your mind. Maybe you're actually killing people. Yeah, it seems like they started it and you're just defending yourself, but still. Maybe you're murdering entire populations and you're not even aware of it. Not just in this game, but in every Silent Hill game, past or present. I find this whole topic super interesting. I was going over my footage and I found something even more interesting. Look at Vincent's shadow. This doesn't look like a human shadow, right? Look at the shape of his head. It looks different than his actual head. It's more square. Look at his hands. Claws? He has claws? This was very cool to see. I never noticed this detail, and I never saw anyone talk about it. At first I thought that I was hallucinating. I was stunned when I discovered this. My jaw still hurts after it dropped to the floor. This little detail that you can easily miss suggests that what we're fighting are actual people, but we see them as corrupted monsters. But it also might be the opposite. Maybe everyone's a monster, but some of them just appear as human to us. They're actually monsters, but we see them as humans. God damn, now I'm even more confused. But you know, it doesn't matter. We're still gonna execute everyone we see, in cold blood. After being mindfucked, Vincent tells Heather that the seal she got after butchering Leonard is the key to defeating Claudia and stopping God. We move on and, hey, it's Valtiel torturing a nurse. Did he bring her all the way from the hospital? And somehow he's here too. He's seemingly everywhere, omnipresent, and he's filming the beginning of the game's opening. Carry on, I'm not gonna bother you. Before getting to the end of the game, there are a few important locations we need to visit, like this horrible yet familiar place. Heather sees Alessa's photo, her own photo, the exact same photo we saw in the first game. This was her hospital bedroom. This is where she spent her days after being burned alive before the events of the first game. Heather remembers being stuck here. She remembers the suffering. She says that she doesn't want to remember, and asks me personally to get her out of here. Well, yeah, sure, okay. Let's go. This whole section is like going down memory lane, while being stuck in hell. It's very similar to Nowhere from the first game. One location can lead you to a completely different location. It's all jumbled up. On that note, I really like how they recreated these places in this new engine, like the classroom where Alessa was bullied. We can walk around in it and examine her desk. It's wonderful. We even find a note from Kay Gordon, who was a teacher who noticed that Alessa was abused by her mother. And in the first game, we stole his key and broke into his house. No hard feelings. There's a cassette tape we can find, which will allow us to listen to a conversation between Vincent and a random cultist. Apparently, Vincent is Father Vincent, and Claudia was considered to be at least a little bit insane, even by the cult standards, which really says something.
But I could never be like her. I wouldn't want to.
Nor I. The truth is, Sister Claudia frightens me a little.
Well now, let's both show our faith by forgetting about this little talk, okay?
Yes.
After doing all of that, Heather then enters the penultimate area. It's another familiar, but less horrible place. Her bedroom, which we saw at the very end of Silent Hill 1. It looks the same, and it even has those drawings on the floor. Claudia was Alessa's childhood friend, and Heather always beat her at card games. That's a fun detail. There's even Cheryl's sketchbook, the one she was holding in the first game, but it's not just a random Easter egg. It actually tells us how to solve the final puzzle. I'm pretty sure that Cheryl didn't write all of this. I didn't mention it up until now, but we need to find 5 tarot cards in order to open the door. You can find them just by exploring. They're not hidden or anything. The sketchbook explains how to use the tarot cards. There has to be 1 or 2 cards in each row. The upside down man is alone at the bottom. There's no one next to him. So he's just a loner introvert who doesn't want to talk to anyone. I can relate. A scary thing is not on the right, which means it's on the left. This eye looks scary, so let's put it on the left. An excellency is praying to God up above. This spooky thing probably represents God, so she has to be beneath him. The moon is at the top, above a crazy clown. The fool. We put all of them in their place, which unlocks the door. We run through the last corridor. There are no monsters. At least for these few moments, there is nothing that is trying to hunt us down. At least nothing we can see. There are only disturbing sounds, which is disturbing. And I gotta say, I love these camera angles. Really adds to this feeling like we're being watched. We also see a big, beautiful fan. I told you it was a reoccurring character. Okay, enough goofing around. Now it's time to end this.
Feeling pity for the sadness that had overrun the earth, God was born from those 2 people.
Claudia and Vincent are arguing once more. Vincent has some great expressions. He confirms to us that all of this, everything that we've seen, from how the monsters look to the visuals of the other world, all of it actually comes from Claudia's mind, not Heather's. Claudia somehow used God's power, Heather's subconscious memories of the past, and her own memories of Alessa to create this nightmare. Or at least that's the way I understand it. Some of it does come strictly from Heather, like the memory of Alessa. It's basically her desire to kill herself and escape the suffering, so I don't think it comes from Claudia. It's fun seeing the differences in their ideologies and how they clash with each other. Claudia was always a self-righteous, religious nutter who thinks she can save humanity, but Vincent is more logical and down to earth. Of course, he's also a bit crazy, a bit loony in the head.
You're pretty loony yourself.
I don't know why Vincent is here though. Did he just come to argue with Claudia? In the middle of their heated conversation, Heather shows up, and immediately Vincent tells her to
kill this crazy bitch!
Which leads to him getting a backstab, like it's Dark Souls PvP. You kind of brought this on yourself. I mean, what did you expect turning your back on a crazy fanatic who looks like she's 80 years old? Remember, this old looking bitch is 24 years old. Also, Heather really likes breaking the fourth wall, like how she basically tells the player that, yes, this is the end of the game.
I guess this is the end.
No, the beginning.
There were a few more of those throughout the game, and there will be another one at the end. Also, again, Heather could have shot her so many times by now. I don't know why she doesn't do that. After a philosophical debate about how all of this is bullshit, Claudia does acknowledge that she probably won't be saved. She committed too many sins, even if it was for an alleged good cause. At least she's somewhat self-aware. With his dying breath, Vincent urges Heather to use the seal that I forgot that we had. The seal of Metatron that we got from Leonard. Claudia is shocked. Vincent is happy. It looks like we're about to win and finally put a stop to this. Somehow. I'm not really sure what it was supposed to do, but it doesn't matter because Claudia reveals that it's just a piece of junk. It's worthless. I guess it was a fake or something. A few moments later, she kills Vincent for good this time. And now, it's time to give birth. Ooh, shit.
Just accept it, Alessa. The pain will disappear. Waiting so long for this. Even as a child, I knew I would see the coming of this day. I knew I would be a witness to it. Judgment Day. Alessa?
Nah, I don't wanna give birth. I'm not gonna do what you want, you fucking bitch.
Shut your stinking mouth, bitch!
On your first playthrough, you won't know what to do, and you'll probably immediately run and attack her. That's not the right thing to do. Heather somehow managed to resist it up until now, but I guess if she attacks Claudia, her hatred builds up even more, which causes God to become strong enough to just force itself out. We don't see it, but God is born. Completely. It reaches full power, Claudia has won, and Heather dies. Game over. Imagine if that's how pregnancy worked in real life. You just go punch someone that you hate, and suddenly a baby comes out of you. If you don't attack her, you can actually walk around the place, explore, examine Vincent's body, appreciate the scenery, and Claudia is just standing there, almost T-posing, but if you wait too long, you die. What you're actually supposed to do is use the most important item that you had from the very beginning of the game. Remember that pendant? The pendant that Harry gave Heather. You need to use it, specifically the red stuff inside of it. It was always with you. It's that Aglaophatus stuff that was used in the first game to expel God from Alessa.
Aglaophatus!
And it serves the same purpose here. Harry gave it to her in case this day would come. But he didn't actually tell Heather what this is, so don't ask me how she knew to swallow it. I guess it was instinctual.
What are you doing?
Dad.
Swallowing the capsule makes Heather fall to the ground, and for a second, you think that she's gonna die again. But no, the capsule is effective, which causes Heather to vomit this thing. All you had to do was spit out the demon baby? Well, why didn't you do that from the start? You could have just put some fingers in your throat and vomit. This tiny, ugly and pathetic creature is God in its fetus form, and it looks like what I find in my toilet every morning.
What is this? Looks like God didn't make it.
Yes! Damn, that was satisfying. Heather is about to step on it, but Claudia shoves her away, and then she eats it.
Claudia!
She eats God. Now that's not a sentence you hear every day. Also, why are you not shooting her, Heather? Claudia decides that the best course of action is to replace Heather with herself. Now she's the one who's about to give birth, and the process looks kind of painful. Doesn't look very fun, not gonna lie. But then, Valtiel shows up and drags her down. We follow her by jumping into this pussy hole, which is an appropriate image, and face the final battle.
This is the final battle!
Can't be dead. I was gonna kill you. This is God?
Meet God. Again. Just like last time, it's incomplete, so it doesn't really have the power to destroy the planet. It can't even open its eyes. It's like a baby that was just born, which is basically what it is. It doesn't mean that it's not dangerous. However, it's still gonna die at the hands of a teenage girl. This time it doesn't look like a flying bug creature. Even though it's kind of technically the same God, it looks different. Now it looks like a woman that kind of resembles Alessa, because that's how Claudia sees God. In the first game, Alessa envisioned the God as a grotesque creature, as a demon. But Claudia basically worshipped Alessa and saw her as the mother of God. So it would make sense that God would take her image. It came from Claudia's delusions. And it hits fucking hard. It can kill you in a few hits. For a final boss in a Silent Hill game, it's not shit like in the first game. And it's more visually interesting than in the second game. But it's not that fun to fight either. It has two modes, standing and hunched over. But no matter what, just like the boss in the first game, she can't move. She can swipe at you, use a headbutt, or summon fire if you're too far away. I mostly use the katana and not some kind of gun because I'm a psycho, so I saw the fire attack only once. It's kind of hard to hit her while she's standing, but after enough damage, she falls down, and you can hit her in the head. And that's basically the whole fight. You just do it over and over until you win. Man, this cult is pathetic. Their god was defeated by a mere human, not once, but twice. I bet I could kill it. I don't want to try though.
that the end? I guess it's time to roll the credits.
I told you there would be another fourth wall break. After all these years, after all of the pain and suffering she endured, in a way, Alessa finally took her revenge and achieved true freedom. This fucking cult failed in their mission again, and her soul finally found peace. But unfortunately, she experienced many losses along the way.
Dad! Dad!
Man, what an amazing and cathartic performance. I really love these games. You can have a climactic showdown with a demonic deity, be stuck inside of a literal nightmare, but then also have stuff like this. Something emotional that genuinely feels real. So let's have Heather shatter all of this goodwill. Just destroy it completely. Somehow, Heather got out of the pussy hole and went back to meet up with Douglas. He's happy to see her, but that smile quickly vanishes when she pulls out a knife and starts approaching him, menacingly.
Heather, what Heather?
Just a joke.
You've got terrible
I'm
taste.
sorry.
Damn it, girl. You just had to ruin the vibes with your stupid jokes, huh? Don't do that. That's my job. Also, how are you in the mood for pulling YouTube pranks like that? Whatever, it's funny. And at least there's a sweet moment here where she pays tribute to her father.
Heather, did
You don't have to call me that. I'm not hiding anymore.
You want me to use your real name? What was it again?
Cheryl. The name my father gave me.
You gonna let your hair color go back too?
I don't know. Don't you think blondes have more fun?
Yeah, okay, Hazel. Sometime later, we see her paying respects to Harry the Goat, while at the same time getting a really nice remix of the original theme of Silent Hill 1. Even though it's not my first time playing this, I got goosebumps when I heard it, but I'm not gonna play it here, because YouTube, but I do suggest you check it out yourself. And then it's over. Of course, like in the previous games, you have a lot of unlockables and fun stuff, but here there's a ton of them, like the Sailor Moon transformation, which also shows up in cutscenes, and it's the same with whatever outfit you choose. It doesn't switch back to the default outfit, like how it is in some other games. Of course, how can I forget the laser sword? It's worth doing another playthrough just for that. Look at these moves! Now she also bumps into things like her father. You can even meet a sewer fairy. A fairy that lives in the sewers, that likes to talk about pipes. No, not those kind of pipes. I know what you're thinking.
I have finally found a truly honest man.
And of course, who can forget about Creepy Douglas? I briefly showed this to you when I started talking about this game. It's the best, or worst, outfit for him. Depending on how you look at it. It's either really goofy or really creepy.
Hold on. There's someone that wants to meet you. Just let me have an hour. No, half an hour of your time.
My daddy always told me not to talk to strangers. Are you still following me? Do I have to scream?
Sorry. I'll wait here.
Damn, removing the pens changes this interaction completely.
Daddy always told me not to talk to strangers.
Oh, come on, why not?
Unlike the previous games, there are only 3 endings here. The good one, the bad one, and the best one. If you play the game, you'll notice there are rooms that have nothing in them besides enemies. This wasn't really the case in the other games. Every place had some kind of purpose, whether it would be giving you a key item or some supplies, like health and ammo, with the enemies acting as guardians that stand in your way. But here, there's just the enemies. There's really no reason to go into these places. They're basically just monster closets, with no purpose. But there's a reason it's like this. From what I know, you will always get the good ending the first time you play. But on subsequent playthroughs, your ending is determined by the amount of points you have. Yes, there's an invisible point system. It was here all along. Basically, the more damage you take and the more monsters you kill, the more points you get. And the more points you have, the greater your chances of getting the bad ending is. Which is weird. It means that if I want the good ending, I need to avoid killing these freaks? I thought that's why we were here. So you're telling me that when I see a sperm demon charging at me, I don't need to kill it? That's just absurd. But yeah, that's how it works. You need to get at least 4,000 points. Which means you need to kill like 200 enemies, get damaged as much as possible, and forgive the stupid lady at the church. Yeah, remember her? I told you it was a bad idea to forgive her. The rooms that only contain monsters are literally there to help you get this ending. You can use the perfume to attract even more monsters. That way you'll get more kills and probably more damage, thus getting more points. So what actually happens in the bad ending? We know what happens in the good ending. Heather trolls Douglas and they live happily ever after. But in the bad ending, well... yeah, Heather actually kills him this time. It wasn't a joke. But why? Why did she do this? Well, it's not really explained, but if we look at the name, we might get some kind of clue. This ending is called Possessed. So I'm guessing she was possessed by all of the hatred that was inside of her. Maybe by killing every monster she came across, the anger and hatred that was inside of her grew to the point where she became a monster herself. Claudia did say that Heather would lead people to heaven with blood-stained hands, so I guess she was right. She literally did that to Douglas right now. But that's stupid. That's not canon. As always, the joke ending is canon. No one can argue against it. It's another UFO ending. It's actually called the revenge ending. You'll understand why soon. Usually, Harry is supposed to be dead when you get there, but if you do it right, you'll instead get this ending. It's so ridiculous, I'll just play it for you.
I'm home, Dad. Listen, something crazy is going on.
Cheryl, you're back! What happened?
Well, it's like this. And that's about it.
Oh, my poor little Cheryl. I can't believe that. I'm going to Silent Hill, and I'm gonna bust some heads.
Oh, Dad, you're the coolest!
Yup, they just blow up Silent Hill and go live in space. Why didn't they just do it from the start? Why does Harry have an alien voice? Is he an alien now?
Poor little Cheryl. I can't believe that.
Why is James here? Why is James in Harry's apartment?
I didn't mean to scare you.
Is it because he was kidnapped by him in the previous game? Why is Harry practicing martial arts with James? All of these questions will be answered in the next game. Silent Hill Space Invaders. Finally, we got to this point. After everything we've been through, it's time to answer this question. What does it mean? Why have the developers removed the pens from Douglas? What is the symbolism behind it? Okay, no, we're not gonna get into that. Some of the things that occur in this game seem a bit random. There doesn't seem to be any symbolism attached to them, unless you really want to use headcanon. I'm talking about stuff like the birthday phone call, or the announcer of the haunted house. There doesn't seem to be a reason for those things to happen, other than to unnerve you. And you know what? That's fine, because they are actually unnerving. They are memorable. Not everything has to have some kind of deep meaning behind it. If you really want to, you can say that the weird color might not be a real person. Maybe it was a voice created by Silent Hill in order to remind Heather of her past. And you can come up with a lot of theories about everything. But maybe, at least this time, the developers just wanted to put stuff that will really get under your skin, but without worrying if it would make sense or not. Part of why those things are scary is precisely because they don't make sense. It just happens without any warning or explanation, and you just have to deal with those things. This lack of symbolism is apparent with the monster design as well. And that's not just me saying that, the developers literally said it themselves. Some creatures from Silent Hill 3 have no special meaning, and they are only creatures. Sorry, the game clearly has themes of femininity and maternity, so obviously I thought that some of the monsters would incorporate it into their design. For example, I always thought this creature was supposed to be a walking sperm that literally jumped on Heather like it wanted to get inside of her, which might represent how the Order wanted her to get pregnant. Makes sense, right? But apparently it has no meaning and it's just a weird looking monster. And it's pretty much the same with most of the enemies. So fuck me, I guess. Though there is something notable about the first proper enemy we meet, the Closer. Apparently that's his name because he physically closes the path for you, because he's a big boy, or girl, or whatever this is. Okay. Also apparently, Akira Yamaoka took sounds from a rhinoceros and altered them to create the sounds of the Closer. How did he even come up with that? I really want to know what was his inspiration.
Get the hell away from me!
These fuckers are one of the tallest enemies in the franchise, but other than their weird pussy lips and the spikes that go in and out of the holes in their hands, I don't know what they're supposed to represent. It seems like Ito-san created this enemy mainly as a homage to an underrated monster from the previous game. He intentionally made them look similar to pay tribute to that creature, but to also imply that in-game the power of Silent Hill also had some input on the design of the monsters, meaning the way monsters look is not dictated only by the person that sees them. Monsters that come out of different people might look kind of similar, because at the end of the day, they are all manifested through the power of Silent Hill, which is a cool idea. We've already kind of seen it in the previous game with these flying lips and the Big Daddy. The flying lips came from James, but the Daddy came from Angela. They both came from different people, but they look kind of similar. But anyway, it doesn't seem like there's too much symbolism here. The main reason I made a symbolism section in this video is to talk about this guy. I'm going to yap a lot about him now. Valtiel is probably the most interesting creature, especially since you barely see him. He's mysterious. You don't even get to fight him, because he's not exactly an enemy. From what I understand, he's not even a manifestation. He's not created from someone's mind. He's created directly from the power of Silent Hill. If you die at certain points, you'll see our boy Valtiel carrying Heather into the darkness. It didn't happen to me. I only died like 3 times, cause I'm an epic gamer. It seems really sinister when he does that, but from what I've read, he presumably drags her to the halo of the sun in order to resurrect her. You remember what it is? It's that red circle, which we used to save the game. This is a really cool way of explaining how the save system works. It's like there's an in-game reason why Heather gets back after dying, and not just because you reloaded your save in real life. It's like when you load your game after dying, Valtiel actually brings you back to the save point. The problem I have with this is that it's never actually shown. You never actually see him putting her next to the symbol. Unless I missed something, I've only read about it, so I don't know where this idea came from. It seems like it's just an assumption. Maybe it's written in a guidebook or something? If it is true, then you can view Valtiel as Heather's protector. But it's not because he really cares about her, it's more because he cares about the God inside of her. He doesn't want Heather to die because he doesn't want God to die. He's basically God's babysitter. Imagine if you had a babysitter like this. He seems like the kind to let you stay up late and watch movies. Now this is the most interesting part to me. There seems to be some sort of connection between him and Pyramid Boy. Although Valtiel doesn't torture Heather, he and Pyramid are both observers, stalking the protagonists, kind of influencing them. Both of them are guiding the player in their own way. Even though Pyramid Head kicks the shit out of James, both physically and mentally, his ultimate goal is a noble one. He helps James remember what happened and overcome his guilt and desire to be punished. On the other hand, Valtiel guides Heather. By kicking the shit out of her enemies, we only see him attacking the enemies, the nurses, Claudia, but never Heather. He's like a guiding angel, which is kind of what he is, actually. Valtiel seems to be a creature that is created by the town itself, and not by random people, like every other creature. According to what I can find in the lore of Silent Hill, he was literally the servant of God, an angel. Whenever the otherworld takes place, it's essentially happening thanks to the power of God. Because he is a being that was presumably created by this God, he has control over the otherworld. One of the ways he controls it is by turning these valves, which supposedly shifts the otherworld, causing it to change. So basically, whenever the environment starts changing, it was because this dude was turning a valve somewhere. According to Ito himself, Valtiel might have been the one who teleported Heather back to the normal world at the end of the final boss fight. But like a lot of things in these games, everything about him is mostly speculations. I view Valtiel as a sort of representation of Silent Hill's will. He acts according to what the town wants to happen. Maybe he's even a representation of fate itself. I have some weird and goofy theories about how fate plays a role in these games, but I'll save it for another time. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, this game is amazing. You should play it. Okay, let's wrap this up.
It's just a joke.
Silent Hill 3 is an amazing game. It was fun to experience it again. Everyone has their own tastes, but for me, it's the scariest Silent Hill game. There are some moments in the sequel that might be scarier, but overall, this game takes the cake. The spooky, disgusting cake. Silent Hill 2 is like going to a psychiatrist who tells you how shit of a person you are, but does try to show that maybe you can move past your past. On the other hand, Silent Hill 3 is more like going on a spooky carnival ride that's relentlessly trying to frighten you and run you over. It feels like the culmination of every spooky idea the franchise had up until this point, but dialed up to 11, maybe 12. Usually, the town is trying to mess with you, but it will give you some downtime. Here, it does not stop messing with you. It's constantly trying to trick you and kill you, or at least creep you out, and it does it well. But somehow this teenager is able to demolish all of it. Heather is definitely my favorite protagonist in the franchise. She always has something wacky to say to all of the weird people she meets. She almost reminds me of Leon or Dante, only she's in a spooky survival horror game. She's too sassy to let the story of this game affect her.
Hell if I know.
On that note, I think Silent Hill 3 has the least ambiguous story in the franchise. Even if you haven't actually played the original, the game will fill you in on what happened. Sometimes it does it through dialogue, like in cutscenes, but other times it would be through notes. One thing I haven't mentioned is how you can find Harry's notes throughout the last section of the game, where he summarizes his feelings and what he's going through while he was stuck in this crazy place. How did those notes get here, you ask? Well, remember how you saved your progress in the first game? You did it by literally taking notes. You, the player, was actually the one leaving those notes. Harry says that maybe somebody will also experience this nightmare. So if he writes about his experience, it might help them. That's meta as shit. That's a really cool detail. It's like it was foreshadowing the events of this game. So basically, everything is mostly explained to you, which is fine, but you know, it wasn't always supposed to be like this. The original plans for Silent Hill 3 was to basically do what Silent Hill 2 did. It was supposed to explore the mind of the protagonist and provide a more intimate and psychological experience. You know, like what they did with James. But there was a problem. It might sound shocking to you, but Silent Hill 2 didn't sell well upon release. At the time, people didn't like the fact that it was a standalone title. They expected a continuation of Silent Hill 1's story. But then they got a story about some random dude looking for his wife. They were disappointed. So Konami was like, nah, Silent Hill 2 equals no money. So no make Silent Hill 2 again. Go make a fucking rail shooter. Which was a stupid idea, obviously. And yes, that's exactly how they sounded. The team rejected the idea, but this whole process wasted a lot of time. So they decided to just actually make the sequel that everyone wanted and conclude a lesser story. Even though it was basically finished in the first game. I mean, she died. That seems pretty conclusive to me. I have no way of knowing what the developers originally intended to do or what kind of story they wanted to tell, but I have my own version that I came up with while I was trying to sleep. Maybe it's dumb, but let's give it a shot. What, you got something else to do? You've been here for hours at this point. Unless you skipped to this part and you didn't watch anything beforehand. Yes, I know I put timestamps in the video, but you're not actually supposed to use that. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, what if we take elements and story beats from Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, and Shattered Memories? Spoilers for Shattered Memories. What if we play as Heather, but just like in Shattered Memories, Harry is already dead, before the events of the game. Let's say that he was dead for a long time. When Heather became 17 years old, she found out that he died at the hands of the cult. So like in the original story, she swears vengeance and goes to Silent Hill. And that's where the game actually begins. Unbeknownst to her, she has the demon fetus inside of her. A few minutes after she gets there, Claudia, who knew that she would come, uses a spell to activate the god, just like she did in the game. Creatures start to appear, the other world takes over, all of that good stuff. But on top of that, the power of Silent Hill manifests Heather's deepest desire, which is to see Harry again. And then, she sees him, running into the fog, just like she did in the first game. She knows it's not possible. She knows that he's gone, but she keeps seeing him over and over again. She hears his voice.
Cheryl?
And now it becomes similar to Silent Hill 2. A tortured soul willingly going deeper into this hellish place to search for a loved one they know couldn't possibly be here. But unlike James, Heather didn't come here for that. She did not receive a letter that told her to come to this town. She came here to kill the bitch who took Harry away from her, but now she thinks he might actually be alive. So it's a direct sequel to the first game. It has all of the cult shenanigans, but at the same time, it has the emotional and psychological elements of Silent Hill 2. I just took already existing elements from these games and shuffled them around. We could still have the same characters, but with different interactions. The game could end with the revelation that Harry is actually here, but as a ghost. We do know that ghosts are a thing in the Silent Hill universe. We saw it with Ernest in the second game. I'm imagining a situation where Heather is struggling against the final boss. She's about to lose. All she wanted to do is stop this fucking cult and see Harry again. It's no use. She's about to die. But then Harry comes at the last second and makes Heather realize that he's not a hallucination or a manifestation. It's actually his spirit coming to help his loving daughter. He can't do anything physically because he's a ghost, but he gives her some wisdom and words of encouragement.
That's absurd. I'm in no mood for jokes. What the?
Which leads to a father-son Kamehameha situation. This might be the only video where you see Silent Hill and Dragon Ball at the same time. Gohan had enough power to defeat Cell. He just needed that final push in order to unleash his full power. He just needed to hear that he can do it, which made him finally believe in himself. And it's the same here. Heather defeats Claudia, God, and whoever else was dumb enough to stand in her way. She finally got her revenge and the closure she needed. I have no idea if what I said was actually cool or dumb as shit, but thanks for indulging me.
Good job. You made it till the end. You survived yet again.
What do you mean I survived? Are you talking to me or the viewers? And where were you all of this time?
Yes, and it does not matter. You need to start working on the next video.
Already? But I haven't even finished this one yet.
Do it! Quickly!
Ah, fuck, okay. Is the planet about to blow up again? Ah, whatever, don't answer. To anyone who watched my bullshit up until now, I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Right. Thanks for watching. Please do all of the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and punch that stupid bell. Yes, this filthy human will lock himself in his room now, because he needs to talk about the room.
The rebirth of paradise. Paradise. You cannot kill God. God lives. We need God. God. I will birth God. Mother of God. What have you done? What did you swallow? When did you stop believing in God? Oh, God! God.
It's just a joke.
You snotty little brat!